Lenovo's Chromebook Duet is far from flawless. But when you're evaluating a device that starts at $279, the question isn't, is this a perfect device? The question is this better than the other stuff you can get for that price? Chromebooks in that price range tend to be clunky and cheap, like the HP's Chromebook 14 or the Chromebook X360 12B. If you want a Windows alternative, you're looking at the lowest end of the Acer Aspire or Acer Swift lines, or other extremely bare-bones options like the Motil 14. And of course, there are entry-level iPads and other basic Android tablets, but those don't come with a keyboard. Lenovo has certainly cut some corners to shave the Chromebook Duet down to that price point. And since I'm employed as a professional griper, gripe I shall. But at the end of the day, it feels like they cut corners that don't specifically hamper the device. After several days using the Duet as my primary driver, I feel comfortable saying it is much more like the Surface Go with some concessions than it does an ultra-budget PC. So let's get the good and bad stuff out of the way. So the good stuff is it's ultra-portable, it has an 11-hour battery life, an included keyboard and kickstand, and you can't beat that price. Here's some of the bad stuff. It has a cramped keyboard and touchpad, only one port, which is USB Type-C, and no headphone jack. It lacks the horsepower for serious multitasking as well. Next to the latest iPads or higher-end Chromebooks like the Pixel Go, the Chromebook Duet has significant drawbacks, but those devices are a step up in price, especially when you include the keyboard covers. If you're looking for a convertible that is sub $300 and you want both foot in the doors, the Duet is the best you'll find. The Chromebook Duet base model has 4 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of storage, although I opted for the 4 gigs of RAM and the 128 gigs of storage. The price includes a keyboard and kickstand, which isn't the case for a Surface Go or any iPad model. The difference between both models are $20, which isn't a huge difference, so I'd recommend that you go for the extra storage if you can afford it. Plus, the 64 gigs will fill up quickly if you plan on downloading lots of apps, videos, or other media. Aside from its head-turning price, the big thing I know about the Chromebook is that it's small. At 10.1 inches is a typical size for a tablet, but if you're trying to use it in a way that you'd use a work laptop, things get cramped. I was able to write an entire review on the Chromebook Duet, but going back to a 13-inch 3x2 screen on my personal computer felt like a whole new world. The display does have a 16:10 aspect ratio, which I appreciate, and if you're used to 16:9 panels, you'll notice the extra vertical space, and I still feel like slightly less constricted on a 13-inch 16:9 screen, but it's close. As a consequence, the detachable keyboard is also so tiny. Most of the keys aren't terrible to press. They're actually a little bit larger than Surface Go keys, with about 1.3 millimeters of travel. The cramped setup took some time to get used to, but after a day or so, I was using the device, I was able to hit my typical typing speed of around 70 words per minute. Right over here, you see 37 words per minute. That's because it's only one-handed. Unfortunately, Lenovo had to compromise, so the tab, backspace, enter, colon, apostrophe, dash, and etc. are minuscule, so it's very hard to hit them. I find that the most annoying thing out of all the buttons was definitely the backspace. The tiny 3.4 by 1.9 inches of touchpad feels fine and scrolls completely well. If you don't keep your keyboard in the right alignment, it won't work. The cool thing about this is it's USI stylus compatible. If you're planning on connecting other peripherals, make sure that you have a USB Type-C splitter. Fortunately, this is not Thunderbolt, so you can't use that. The tablet is 449 grams. With the keyboard and kickstand attached, it's only 921 grams. Despite the corners that have been cut with the keyboard and touchpad, no part of the Duet looks or feels cheap. The tablet itself is made out of aluminum alloy, which is sturdy and nice to hold. The cover is made out of a gray fabric that looks classy when the notebook is closed. I found that the Duet's keyboard fell off quite often when I walked around with the keyboard dangling. One thing to note is that when you attach the kickstand and the keyboard and you close it all up, it is pretty chunky. The built-in camera is very subpar, but again, for a Chromebook, it is very good for web calls, although I would not use the back camera unless it was a complete emergency. The Lenovo Duet claims 10 hours, and I got close to 11.5 running the device at my typical workload on Chrome tabs including Gmail, Twitter, Slack, Asana, Facebook, Docs, Sheets, as well as the occasional Zoom calls and Spotify streaming. Lenovo Duet comes with a 10-watt USB Type-C brick, a dongle, and the actual tablet itself, with of course the keyboard and kickstand included. This is running the MediaTek Helio P60T processor, which is an octa-core 2 GHz processor. Power-wise, it's closer to a budget Snapdragon smartphone processor than Intel chips you'll find in nice Chromebooks. With that understood, the Duet's performance was surprisingly decent if you're browsing a couple tabs, streaming Netflix, or running an app or two. Great thing about this is that you have the Play Store, so you can run Android applications with no problem. I had no problem multitasking with the 4 gigs of RAM included, but if you're doing some heavy multitasking, I wouldn't recommend it. I think this is great as a secondary device, but it should not be your main device. If you're looking for a tablet/Chromebook, this is a great option for sub $300. Please hit the like and subscribe button, and Tech Time out.